This presentation is about the topic of economic growth. So this is one of 4 macroeconomic targets that we hope to achieve in our economy. What I want to get across first was how we go about measuring economic growth in our economy. The rate of economic growth is measured by changes in GDP. Normally in a year, or it could be a given time period like 6 months, 3 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5, whatever you want it to be. So we're measuring how the output of the economy changes as time goes on. So that means if you go back to topic 1 in the last unit, when we were drawing production possibility boundary diagrams, so if I just draw a basic production possibility boundary diagram on the board, we imagine we've got an economy that can make product A and or product B. We've got our production possibility boundary, which measures the maximum output of the economy. When we have economic growth, it could be like that, so the economy is actually producing more now, or it could be that the production possibility boundary increases. So we've actually got an increase in the potential of the economy. Let's call that one Y to Y. Now, very quickly, if I just say that X to X, we can see that from our production possibility boundary diagram, the economy is now actually producing more goods and services. So it's utilising more of its factors of production, its land, labour, capital and enterprise. This is what we call actual economic growth. So it means the country is actually making more than it was originally, so GDP would increase. If on the other hand we had Y to Y, this is what we call potential economic growth. Doesn't mean the economy will actually achieve it, but what it does mean is that the economy has got more scope for growth in the future. So Y to Y, the potential of the economy is increased. The country is actually now capable of making more. A good way of sort of visualizing this is for me to draw very quickly a very crude drawing. What we've got here, if you've not worked it out yet, is a bathtub. This can be used to represent the size of our economy. Imagine that the top water level of this bathtub represents the potential of the economy. The water going into the bath is the GDP, is the output of the economy. Let's imagine the economy is currently here. So you see the bath water is not to the top of the bathtub. Here we can see the economy is operating below its potential. It's not achieving its production possibility boundary. If we turn the tap on and the water level starts to go up, we have actual economic growth. The country is actually producing more. If we looked towards Y to Y, or potential economic growth, what we're doing here is actually making the bathtub bigger. So the sides of the bath go up, we can hold more water, the economy can have more actual economic growth in the future. So we've got the actual and potential economic growth. What I want to move on to now is how we go about looking at different types of GDP. We have nominal GDP and real GDP. And then we also have to think about something we call GDP per capita. Now, let's take nominal GDP first of all. This is the crudest measurement of the output of the economy in a time period. Nominal GDP is literally the amount of money generated in an economy during a year. So let's say, for example, we had a country with 10 people who each generated an output worth £10,000 each. The nominal GDP would be £100,000. So that's the full output of the economy. Now, real GDP is when we take into account price levels. So, for example, £10,000 a year for an individual person, is that a good or a bad thing or not? Well, we don't know. It depends what you can buy. Let's say, for example, you earn £20,000 in India compared to £20,000 in Britain. Your money will clearly go further in India. Houses are cheaper, food's cheaper, water's cheaper, bills are all cheaper. So what we do with real GDP is adjust it to take into account price levels. So what we might find is for a rich country, we'd adjust GDP down. For a poor country, we'd adjust it upwards. GDP per capita is simply the output of the economy, or the GDP, divided by the population. So we said we've got 10 people in our country, total GDP of £100,000, GDP per person would work out at £10,000 per person. This is a better measurement of income in a country, if you like, simply because it takes into account the population level. Let's take, for example, Britain and China. China earns recently quite a lot higher GDP per year than Britain does. But the problem is they've got such a large population, they've got many people to share it between, which means that the GDP per capita in Britain is actually higher than what it is in China. Right, okay, now let's just very quickly move on to the next part of this topic. What I want to think about now are the advantages and disadvantages of economic growth. So you've got advantages of economic growth and disadvantages of economic growth. Now clearly, as the economy is producing more output, we're producing more in the country, then it's clear that economic welfare should in theory go up. We've got more output, which means that we can divide it between people, which means that people can satisfy more wants and needs, which means solving the basic economic problem should improve, which means living standards should also improve. One other benefit of economic growth, we should, in theory, have a reduction in unemployment. As businesses produce more output, they need more workers. More people working means more people earn higher wage, which means they can satisfy more of their wants and needs again. Further advantage of economic growth are the benefits of economic growth for the government. As the economy grows, more people work. As more people work, more people pay taxes. That means the government have got more money. So there's more money available for the government to spend on the people, providing better healthcare for people, better public transport, better housing conditions. All these different things feed into economic welfare again for people. So you've got there three key advantages of economic growth. Let's take a couple more before we think about the disadvantages. As the economy starts to grow, businesses feel more confident in the economy. This means they're more likely to invest into our country, business from abroad, British businesses, which means again there'll be a greater level of technology in the country, better skills. Again, more people gain employment, which again means the economy improves. Disadvantages though. Some key problems we've got are sustainability issues. As the economy grows, it's starting to exploit more of its natural resources. That might mean that what we do today might impact negatively on people in the future. If we use all the oil today, what will future generations use? So their economic wealth in the future might actually fall. There's also a link between, as the output increases, we have more lorries on the road, what we call freight traffic. Traffic congestion increases. There'll be more negative externalities from pollution as businesses produce more output. So you could potentially argue that all this might mean that we have down economic welfare for some sections of society. Now, a further problem we've got is the potential of inflation. As the economy grows, we're using more and more factors of production, more and more people get jobs, more land is used. That means some resources start to become scarce. As resources become scarce, their value starts to increase. This starts to push prices up. As prices go up, clearly some people will actually be worse off than what they were before because they can't buy as much as they could do previously. Now, just to end this topic on economic growth, I want to put two words at the bottom. I believe economic growth is only a good thing if it's sustainable and if the economic growth leads to an increase in economic welfare. If it doesn't make people's living standards improve, what's the point in it? So if the disadvantages outweigh the advantages, well, then do we want it or not? If it's sustainable, what I mean by this is what we do today, would it impact negatively or positively on people in the future? For economic growth to be sustainable, it should impact positively on people in the future.